Ignition source and igniting. We can use it to control vapor releases of some hazardous materials. We have to make sure we have the right foam for the hazardous material. And we can use it on some Class A fires. There might be a large fire of paper bales going in a warehouse, and command may say, let's put some foam in there instead of water, because you have less chance of things tipping over. I don't know if you remember the Kimberly-Clark fire in Etobicoke. 2 died, or 3 Etobicoke firefighters. Back in the 70s, Kimberly-Clark had those large rolls of paper, the huge ones, piled like 4 high. They were soaking them down with water, and they just tipped over, and they just basically crushed these 2 Etobicoke firefighters to death. It might have been 3. The foam, maybe that wouldn't happen. So that's where it could be used. I'll talk to you a little bit about how foam works and things like that. So I've got some good old overheads here, proven during the years. There's 4 ways that firefighting foam works to put out a fire. How does water put out a fire? Cooling it, okay. So here's how foam puts out a fire. Make sure that's focused for you. How's that, okay? Let's see it. Foam puts out a fire by cooling, yep. Because it is water. Then it smothers. It sits on top of the fuel and cuts it off from the air. Then it separates by getting between the heat and the product itself. And the last thing it does, suppresses. It keeps the vapors down so the vapors can't mix with the free ions, can't mix in the air to ignite with the heat. So that's how it breaks up the tetraheder and fire 4 ways. We're going to be talking about, they'll have to write these down, so what I'm going to be talking about today, so keep on track. We're going to be talking about how foam is produced, product compatibility. You've heard about percentage of foam, 3%, 6%, you've heard that term, I'll explain that to you. Expansion rates, you ever heard about low, medium, or high expansion foams? Ever heard those terms? I'll explain those to you today so you understand them. The abilities of foam and what it's made of, its composition. So you'll have a real good understanding of foam by the end of the day. You'll be foam experts by the end of the day. Okay, foam production. You ever heard of chemical foam? It's still mentioned in our drill book. If you go into the halls and see our old training manual, talk about chemical foam. That foam we talked about, the patent in 1877, whatever, in England, it was chemical foam. They had an A powder and a B powder, and they mixed them together in this hopper, or foam generator they call it. There's one in the museum. It's chrome, it's about that high, it looks like a big meat grinder, and the hose ran through the bottom of it. And you dump the A powder and the B powder together, like you mix epoxy almost, right? There was a chemical reaction, right? Carbon dioxide gas was created, and when it was aerated, it came out as carbon dioxide bubbles. And it wasn't a bad product for years. When I started here in 1981, we used the last of it up on this department. It's sitting here as old stock, trading stock. So I don't know if you'd see any chemical foam anywhere in North America right now. Right now, maybe some third world nations still have it stockpiled, maybe some military installations. I don't think it exists anywhere. But that was chemical foam, mixing 2 powders. So you'll see that thing in the museum sometime when you walk through. That's a foam generator or a foam hopper. The foams we use today are called mechanical foams, or you can call them air foams, because we mechanically put air into the foam today. It's not CO2 gas, it's just the air you're breathing in this room right now. So here's what we do today. We buy a compound, and we're going to change that word compound to concentrate. We buy it from a manufacturer, all right, in pails. You mix it with water to make foam solution, and then you blow air into it to get your finished foam. Okay? Or there's a triangle up here to show you. You take water, foam concentrate, and air, and you make finished foam today. You mechanically make air foam, so call it what you like, air flow mechanical. So now there are 2 stages to this production, and both are sort of chaste If you interfere with one of the two stages of good foam production, you will not get good foam. If you don't get good foam, you could die in a fireball when it blows. Right? You have to make sure your foam is produced properly. What looks like good foam sometimes may not be. It might not be heavy enough. Might not have the right concentrate. So there's two stages, right, to foam production. The first stage is back here. It's where we take that pail, or that steel drum we're going to use today, of foam concentrate, and we mix it with water through an inductor system. So foam, this is stage one right here. Okay. This goes into the pail, 38 millimeter hose goes on here, and then it goes this way. See how this tapers down? Anybody know what that effect's called? Ventura effect. What's it caused to happen up this tube? Yeah, and the foam gets sucked up to the tube. You meter here for your percentages, which we'll talk about a little later. Okay. This is stage one. Anything that interferes with stage one, you won't get good finished foam. Like the screen's clogged or something like that, or the line's kinked, or your pressures aren't right, or your water flow isn't right. Okay. You can't interfere with stage one. You won't get safe foam. You can die. So we mix the foam concentrate with water to get what? Foam solution. Stage two is the aeration. It's where the foam solution picks up air, and it happens right here in this foam nozzle, or foam play pipe, whatever you want to call it. It is a nozzle. And you'll see there's like 4 fingers of water. You'll see it coming here. Today when you're using it, just put your hands over there and feel the suction. The amount of air that's being sucked in here to mix with that solution to come out here. What comes out here? Kind of foam. Finished foam. Finished foam. Okay. So you've got foam concentrate mixed with water to make foam solution, aerate it with air to get finished foam. That's your 2 stages. What's missing off of this nozzle? Most nozzles have. Nail or a gate. Right? Okay. Doesn't have it. Who's going to control the water flow? Pump operator. Okay. You understand the 2 stages? Okay. If you, for some reason, hold this nozzle with your hand over it like this, or on your coat while you're, fighting a fire, you're cutting down the air getting into here, right? Are you getting the proper finished foam? No. Are you in danger? Possibly. Yeah, you're in danger with good foam anyway. Always be careful. Okay, there's 2 types of products we had to be concerned about years ago. Not so much today. But you still have to know this in case you get somewhere. Let's say there was a huge disaster and they start bringing in pails of foam from everywhere. All right, you still have to be aware of what type of product you're using. You've had hazmat? Yes. You know the difference between a hydrocarbon and a polar solvent? You do or you don't? Well, when it comes to water, what's the difference between a hydrocarbon and a polar solvent? One's hydrophilic, one's hydrophobic. Right? One hates water, one loves water. Which one hates water? Hydrocarbons, all right? They will not mix with water. It's like vegetable oils, gasoline. Okay? You can stir. I can put water into, and I'm going to a little later. I'll show you this. I will put water into gasoline, and we'll stir them, and then we'll just stop, and it separates. Kind of like Italian salad dressing oil. You know what's that? You get it all shook up, and just before you go to pour it, what happens? It separates before you can even pour it. And it won't stay in an emulsion. It's a hydrocarbon. Hydrocarbons are hydrophobic, they hate water. Polar solvents, on the other hand, love water. They're hydrophilic. That's why they call them polar solvents. They almost electrically, right, mix with the water immediately. You don't have to stir it. So when you put water in your scotch at home, you don't even have to stir it. You sit there and watch it long enough, it's going to start to mix on its own. For gasoline and water, bang, definite lines. Right? So understand the difference. Okay? Because there's different foams for different products. Okay? And I'll show you what happens when you put the wrong foam on the wrong product. And hopefully we don't have that much of a problem with that anymore today on our fire department. Okay, here's one. We talk about concentrations of foam. Someone will say you put it on at 3% or you put it on at 6%. Or let's just put it on at 1%. Okay? See the numbers on that deductor? Right? And right there is the marker. So when I set it there right now, it's set at what? 6%. And all I do is turn the dial to 3. Now that's 3%. Real simple, right? This one has a setting for 2 or 1. Okay? For most phones, we'll use 3 or 6. All that means is, when I set it to 3, it'll only pick up 3 parts of the concentrate for every 97 parts of water. And if I set it to 6, I'm going to pick up 6 parts of concentrate for 94 parts of water. But which setting is going to make the pail go down faster? Concentrate.
6.
Yeah, definitely. How much faster? Exactly twice as fast. Okay. But, so I'm going to give you a little clue now. You've got to pay attention to your percentage rates because of the product. Okay? Hydrocarbons, you can usually put them out at 3%. Polar solvents are tougher to put out because they love mixing with the foam, because the foam is bubbly water. All right, so we do them at 6%. That's why that setting's there. This is your hydrocarbon setting, this is your polar solvent setting. For today, then with new technology, it may change. Okay, you hear about expansion rates now. Low density foam or high expansion or low expansion and medium. All that means is it's the amount of air that gets put into the solution to come up finished foam. Now, if you just used, I'll move it up here a little bit. If you just use an ordinary fog nozzle that you've been playing with outside already, right? As you use a wide fog, some air does get drawn into there, but not a lot. What you get is just looks like soapy water coming out, because it's really only picking up 2 parts air for 1 part water. So we call that non-aspirated foam. You might use that as a good wetting agent, right? Because foam is also like a surface tension breaker. But to make good foam, you can't use that nozzle. Okay? This nozzle here is rated by NFPA to pick up 10 parts of water, or air for every part of water. So it's a 10-to-1 expansion. All right, so for every liter of solution that comes into here, it's blown up 10 times into foam. So that's known as low expansion foam. Medium expansion picks up to 200 liters of air for every liter of water, and we don't even have a medium expansion foam nozzle on this department. We don't carry them. Has anybody seen one? Oh, why?
Huge.
How about that? Yeah, some are like even like that. Okay, so when you see from here to about here, that's usually a medium expansion. We don't have any other TFT. And high expansion is when it picks up like 1,000 times more air. And that's where you see foam pipes. Pardon?
No, just I've seen them, they're almost like
Oh, high expansion? Big as that door.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like a meter across or 2 meters across. They use them where there is a confined space fire. For flooding a mine, flooding freighters, lake freighters, they have the systems. And it just comes at you, it starts coming down. You can walk through high expansion foam, you can like walk through it and breathe in it. It's that bubbly, it's that light. We've done it. We filled up a ship down here and we went walking right through, it was fun. We had mining helmets on, so we could see. You can only see this and it was tickling your face, but you could breathe in it. If I stick your face in the foam that we make today, the low expansion, you'll drown. You're not going to go walking through low expansion foam. So high expansion has specific uses, like very confined space, because if I put it out in the field, you know what happened to it today? You just go, it's gone. So it's used to flood even some computer rooms, and it might come out of things like this. You know, that could be maybe something like a high expansion foam nozzle, coming out of the ceiling, coming out of the floors. But it's usually for mines and ships. Medium expansion is used for a lot of hazardous materials. Again, not much for practical application for firefighters fighting fires. That's why we stick in here. Low expansion foam is your best.
The hazmat truck has no medium?
Nope. Now, we figure if we go to a factory that has those types of chemicals, that manufacturer factory usually has the type of foam necessary to fight their fire, if it's going to be a real specialized one. That's what we've found. And they usually have the equipment. And our technicians wouldn't have a rough idea how to use it. It's real quick. All right? Medium. Example to use it on? Hazardous material. Yeah, I think maybe when they used to do the, no, even the airports, when they used to foam down runways, for a plane crash, that was still low expansion. And then they learned the plane never hit the runway where they foamed it, so they stopped doing it. So really, they don't foam runways anymore. They just wait for the plane to crash and then go out and foam the plane.
What about that fire in Sarnia? What would they use there?
What fire in Sarnia?
Oh, that big one where the lightning bolt hit the video?
A tank?
Yeah.
I'll show you Honolulu, which is one of the biggest in North America. What would they use? Foam.
What expansion was
It could be medium expansion because it could be inside the system. Okay, it wouldn't be high. All right, they might be actually what they do is they can blow foam into the bottom of those huge tanks, storage tanks. Is that what it was, a tank fire? Yeah, the foam can actually come up. They got a special foam that bubbles up and then puts it up. If we show up, we're using low. If the trucks show up, it's low. The turrets are low.
Yeah, that's what they're using the turrets.
Yeah, that'd be low. If you saw a video, I got another video to show you today.
I think it was a Sunoco tank in Sarnia.
Regardless, okay, of what type of foam we use, manufacturers strive to get this for us, okay? This is what they're trying to do. We want a foam that will flow freely. As you'll see today when we go out there, if it's not a windy day, and the foam is at my back, right, with that nozzle, I might be able to, I should be able to go just past that wall. But if there's a crosswind or the wind's in your face, I'd be lucky to get halfway. This foam comes out the nozzle, very lazy, right? And the idea is we hit the nearest edge of the product, and we want the foam to flow a couple hundred meters if necessary across the big tank. So this took a lot of chemical playing around. This is why the chemical foams weren't any good. They had to get rid of them. Just before the war, I believe. Right? And after the war, they still used it a bit. It's got to have a long foam life. Okay? Most foams are good for how long? You put a blanket of foam on a gasoline spill, how long is it good for? That's about it. 20 minutes. And they're striving for foam that'll last an hour or two, right? Right? They're always striving for a long foam life. After 20 minutes, you may see something there that looks like foam, right? And I'll show you what happens to it with my little tabletop demonstration. It might only be skeleton foam. In other words, it's not strong enough to save you. It has to produce a stable blanket, which means it can sit there, resist wind and things like that. Must resist the product, and it can take a direct hit from flame. Now, a lot of people say, geez, the foams we use today, they're just soap. No, they're not just soap. Okay, because if I used Head & Shoulders shampoo and I used it for a foam fire, as soon as fire hit those bubbles, they'd be gone. Take a blowtorch to shampoo bubbles. How long do you think they're going to last? You take a blowtorch into foam bubbles, they have a little bit more resistance. Right? So the other side of this coin is, don't go washing your car with AFFF foam. Okay? Yes, it's related to soap, but it might also eat the paint off your car. Could ruin the finish. Okay? It's not just soap. Okay? It's a cousin to soap. Okay? I used to hear protein foam is excellent for your lawn. You'll see why when I start telling you about it. And that's what I'm going to do right now, the different types of foam. I need a blackboard and I need a screen. I love this chalk. Okay, different types of foam. This is kind of like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Okay, the war they're always having, is that the better product? Okay. After chemical foams, the very first mechanical or air foam that came out was something called protein. Okay, protein foams. And the very first one is just what we call regular protein. Am I spelled protein right? Is it E-I-N? Is it I-E? I don't know, what is it?
It's I before E, except that
Is it? You got EI here. It's EI, isn't it? Yeah. That's right. EI. This is just regular protein foam. Now it's going a little old because it's kind of brown, but usually it's kind of like a red rusty color. You know why? You know what it's made out of? What are you made out of?
Blood.
water.
Well, your blood. Water. What's blood though? Protein. Okay, your body's protein. They grind up fish, they grind up chickens, okay? It's It's a byproduct of animals, usually fish or poultry. And they make regular protein foam. It's pass it around. It almost smells. To me, it doesn't smell too bad. It almost smells like you're gonna know the smell because you're gonna get a call first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock if you're on a pumper. You're gonna walk into the apartment building. And you're just gonna smell this odor, this slight trace of rotting protein. Okay? You're gonna start your day with a DOA. And this is almost the same smell. Kind of a sweet, sick smell. Some people tell me it smells like licorice too. Depends on your company. Some people find it repulsive. You gotta remember, it is protein. It's like blood.
Drink it, Kevin.
And don't drink it.
A sip.
Doesn't make a bad liquor.
Smell from here.
John, you're supposed to drink that.
And that's regular protein foam. Okay?
John?
That's good stuff. It sticks to stuff. Right? It comes up the nozzle great and it sticks like crazy to the factory walls and stuff. Hold up your coffee cup right there. See the color of that coffee? Hold it up. See the color of that coffee cup? That's the color protein foam will come out, the finished foam. Okay, and I think we got 2 pails we can play with today, but with 40 people, 4 groups. You do all 10 people once in a group? Yeah, okay, it's going to be pretty hard maybe to show everybody protein, but it might be lame. It was real sticky. It stuck to tanks and things. It was a good foam. Okay? But some companies thought that they could make it better. So Coca-Cola came around, right? This is like the Pepsi people. Protein. They're the ones that are always fighting to stay alive. The synthetics are like the Coca-Cola people. All right, the synthetic people said, hey, we got this real great foam. This is what they created around 20 years ago. It's called AFFF. You know what AFFF stands for? Very good. Aqueous Film Forming Foam. Okay? Pretty amazing stuff. Okay? It's a synthetic base, in other words, a cousin to soap. Now here's what it did, okay? The old protein foam put a heavy foam blanket on top of the gasoline. You know those puzzles that you play with when you're a kid, start here and find your way out? Right? Well, the gasoline vapors, or the flammable vapors, it didn't have to be gasoline, it could be kerosene, anything. They would find their way around the bubbles and get to the surface again, putting firefighters at risk. Okay? So this AFFF, this aqueous film forming foam, did this. It made bubbles, tighter bubbles, and then just before it drained into water at the bottom, it puts a light water film. We actually have a film of water sitting on top of the gasoline. It's light water, very light water. Right? And that sealed it now, so that the vapors wouldn't get out. That's why everybody rushed over and bought aqueous film forming foam. Okay? So what do you think the foam people introduced? Film forming protein. Right? Big war. Big war. Actually, after regular protein didn't flow well. Okay? AFFF was flowing well, so they came out with fluoro protein, FP. Fluoroprotein foam just flows nicer, okay? But it wasn't an AFFF. After these people came out with this AFFF, the protein people came out with film-forming protein. Film-forming fluoroprotein, FFP. And everything seemed fine between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, okay? But we had a real big problem here. A real big problem, and it has to do with product, right? These foams are only good on one type of product. What's that? Hydrocarbons. That's it. What about polar solids? No? We had to look at those, but now, today with industry, there's all kinds of industrial solvents. You know how much alcohol is being moved around? Just isopropyl alcohol? Every day, like it's used in all kinds of industrial applications. It's in this building, it's in hardware, it's everywhere. Thanks. So we had a big problem because we have polar solvents, right? So what they came out with is either called alcohol resistant AFFFs or ATC, alcohol type concentrate AFFFs, whatever you want to call it, fine with me. So how did this differ? A regular. The system. Before we go any further, this is AFFF. Does it look different than the regular protein? Does it look kind of like soap? Okay, just don't open it, just pass it around. It just smells like soap. This is the ATC type, alcohol resistant AFFF. You know something about it right now?
Thicker.
It's thicker, okay? It's thicker. Because what they had to do is this. Listen, there's no way you can get a water and a polar solvent to sit together. All right? A polar solvent is hydrophilic. It loves water. It'll eat up the water. So what they did is, with these alcohol-resistant AFFFs, is they put a pellicule membrane in there, right? And what happens is, or a polymeric membrane, whatever you want to call it, it's almost like a plastic. And as soon as you make the foam, as soon as the foam hits the polar solvent, the foam drops this layer, this polymeric membrane down. And it keeps the foam away from the product. It's in between. So it's just not a film, it's an actual layer. And it looks like snot. And you'll see it. I'm going to make it for you today. I'm going to show it to you. You break that layer, what's going to happen to your foam? It'll disappear. It'll fall in. You disturb, an ATC blanket, you could be in big trouble if it's sitting on a polar solvent. We'll talk about that. A lot of firefighters don't realize this exists. A lot of Toronto firefighters do because they've seen the demonstration. Some departments never get to see this. And I'll show you things you maybe haven't seen before. So that's the big difference there. So now it looks like Coca-Cola's got a winner here, right? Right, with their alcohol type concentrates. So what do the protein people come up with?
Pepsi.
Yeah, Pepsi. Yeah. Put Pepsi in the jar and sell it. Angus came out with a triple FPAR, a film-forming fluoroprotein alcohol-resistant foam. That's it right there. I got that from Vaughn, because that's what Vaughn uses. I've heard this stuff is pretty damn good. We don't use it in Toronto. I'll tell you what we use in Toronto. Matter of fact, when remember that big I can't say the words from this toluene spill on the 401 that shut down the 401 and 427 intersection for like 6 hours that day. It was what's the name of the trucking company from Montreal? Provost. Yeah, Provost truck rolled over. Okay. North York Fire Department put their foam on, that's what they carry, on that spill. Phillips Engineering was called to clean it up. And trucks never roll over in big dry parking lots. There's always like the Humber River was right there. There's always a water stream or something. So Phillips, technicians are going, man, it's in the Humber River. You know what we got to do? We got to walk miles up and down the shores with blankets, picking it up, right? And they walked down to where the spill was hitting the Humber River, and they're picking up the toluene in like big hunks of bark because of this foam. And they thought that was great, so they now carry this just for toluene spills. They found that it turns the toluene into like a scab. It never got to run into the river. It was amazing. Good stuff, just for that. We don't use it, but some departments do, North York and Vaughan. Hey, we may start using it in the next couple of years with amalgamation. We'll have a better choice in it. Let's go back to the Pepsi Coke drawing here. Coca-Cola came out with the ATC types. So did
What's ATC?
protein people. Okay. Now here's the new battle. Everybody wants to just produce one foam you can use on everything. Okay. Right. That sounds better. So they have all-purpose foam. Both companies. This here is considered, an all-purpose. In other words, you can use it on hydrocarbons or you can use it on polar salts. Doesn't matter. This is considered an all-purpose, throw it on hydrocarbon, throw it on a polar solvent, it doesn't matter. You know what does matter? I already told you, when I put it on a hydrocarbon or a polar solvent, what does matter?
Concentration.
The concentration, all right? 3%, 6%. One company, I think was Chubb Foam, now it's National Foam. They have something called liquid gold, and it's about that much to buy. Okay, it's a 3% all-purpose. The person that makes our alcohol type AFFF says it'll work at 3%. Just that there is no standard for putting 3% foam on a polar solvent. You read all the NFPA foam standards, they tell you minimum 6%. So he says, I'm not dropping mine till 3 until NFPA does. I don't care what Chubb or National Foam says their foam does. The national standards don't let you do it, the NFPA standards, so he's not going to change it. But he swears his foam would work at 3%, which is, that makes me feel good, because if you screw it up a little bit, or if there's a bit of dirt in the screen, you might only be getting 4 if it's half clogged, right? And you're still pretty safe. Right? We have a pretty good foam. All right. So there are all purposes, right? One company will even tell you can use their all purpose at 3% on everything. Right now in the TFD, we still use 6% on polar solvents, 3% on hydrocarbons. So why would anybody just buy AFFF today? Just AFFF because maybe at their tank farm, it's only hydrocarbons at their factory. They don't have polar solvents, right? You buy what you need it for. Okay? Here's the foams that we carry on the Toronto Fire Department. We just got rid of all our AFFF. It's gone now, I believe. The only thing we carry on the trucks is this, a synthetic AFFF AR, or ATC, all-purpose. Okay. One of our apparatus still carries this, big old stinky regular protein. You know what that is? Fireboat. The fireboat carries, help me convert this real quick, it's 1,000 gallons, 4,000 liters, 4,500 liters, I believe. 4,500 liters of regular protein concentrate, that stinky stuff. Why would we just carry that in the Toronto Harbor?
Biodegradable.
Lakes.
Yeah, well, what type of fire do you think we'll have? We have a fire. A hydrocarbon, because if it's a polar solvent that spills around the lake, what's going to happen to it when it hits the lake? See, the lake is bigger than the spill. You think of that. It doesn't matter. You could have a freighter come in, a lake freighter come in full of alcohol, because we do. We get the rum and stuff, you know, that comes in for these sugar plants and everything. Sometimes there's massive alcohol there. Even if it was spilling in a lake on fire, the lake is still bigger than that spill. The nice thing about Lake Ontario, we can overreact anything. Okay? But if we get a large hydrocarbon spill on the lake, we're going to need a lot of hydrocarbon type foam, and the cheapest one to buy is this. And we can afford to put 4,500 liters of concentrate in a fireboat. That's the alcohol resistant, the kind of thick one. Okay? This, just a small 5-gallon, 23.5-liter pail, costing us about $120. So probably by the end of today, we're going to use, well, probably 2 pails per group times 4, so you do the math, $250 times $1,000 worth of concentrate today. Just to train you, $1,000.
Is that training foam?
No, we're going to use the real stuff. Well, no, I'll tell you exactly what we're using today. We're going to use the last of the AFFF out of old 30 pumper. That's what we're using, and I think I got 2 pails of stinky old protein. So you really won't see this come out the nozzle, okay? Now, remember I said hold up that cup? What color comes out, like what protein? Yeah, I just gave you the answer. What foam comes out that color? Protein. You know what color the synthetics come out? Pure white. Pure white, snow white. So anytime you see pure white finished foam, you know it's a synthetic. Anytime you see that off-white, vanilla brownish color, you know, and you'll smell it too. You can smell protein foam, it stinks. Okay? You'll know. And that's important to know only for maybe one little area later. Okay? I want you to be able to tell the difference between foams. There is an IFSTA video on Firestream. You seen it yet? One on foam?
No.
And sometimes in the video, they're talking about protein foam, and it's coming out so white out the nozzle, I know it's not protein. It's just the way they edited it, you know, they narrated it. I'm looking at it going, that's not protein foam, that's synthetic foam. But they're talking about protein foam. It's too white. It just can't happen that way. All right. I'm going to give you a break so I can get the lecture and we'll set up for the easy bake thing. Okay, this is the foam that we're using on all the apparatus now. It's Unifoam A4P. A4P stands for, it's aqueous pellicule producing, I can't remember, it's got 4 P's in it. Pellicule producing polymeric. Oh, it's right there. There you go. All-purpose protective. I thought you were really good. All-purpose protective polymeric pellicule. That's why he calls it A4P. So what is it? It's an ATC AFFF, right? Or an AR-AFFF. That's all it is. Okay. It's good foam. It can be used from 1 to 7%, depending what you're using it on. For hydrocarbon, he recommends 3%. Polar solvent, 6%. Okay. We use it on Class A fires. Here's what I want to show you more in it. This is very confusing for people writing their exams. We've had trouble with this exam question for captains enough that it was going to be grieved. Okay. This is just the properties of the foam. There's a minimum use temperature and a maximum use temperature. There's a freezing point. See the freezing point of A4P? See the minimum use temperature? Okay. If it's 20 below 0, right? Can I use AFFF foam? It's 20 below today outside. Why can't I use it? What does water freeze at? 0. How come when it's 20 below 0, I can fight a fire with water? Well, it depends on the temperature of the water, doesn't it? Usually when I leave the fire hall, by the time I get to the fire, and the water in the mains is not 0. Okay? Alright, I just want you to remember, this is the temperature of the concentrate. If the concentrate gets down to 0, it'll be too thick to use, because at 3 degrees, the concentrate will freeze. So if your concentrate comes right off the truck, it can be 20 below, you're going to use it in the first, 20 minutes? Right? It's still going to be room temperature. Understand what I'm saying? See, some firefighters believe if it was like below 0 outside, they couldn't use foam to fight a fire. And I'm saying, well, water freezes at 0. Why can't you use water? You know, it's the same as water. It is water. It's bubbly water. You can use it at 50 below. Just don't let the concentrate get real cold. That's all. And the nice thing about this A4P is, how long does it take pea soup to cool down? Ever wait for a bowl of hot pea soup to cool down? Well, it takes forever because it's so thick, and this stuff is so thick. It would take a long time to cool down. It would also take a long time to heat up once it froze. And we are told if it does freeze solid on your truck, if you're at a fire for 2 days and the truck's there, you should think about protecting your foam, #1. But if it did freeze, once it thaws, it's still okay. I just want you to know, don't be fooled by that minimum use temperature. That's the concentrate. Okay? Is that clear? It could help you someday when you write. Okay, this is a real lousy overhead. I just want to show you the foam is. Ooh, look at that, it's been hit with foam. 4,500 liters of 3% protein on the fireboat. Now, pumpers 11, 15, and 30 are our foam pumpers. They're brand new trucks now since this overhead. They're carrying probably 350 liters of concentrate in their foam tank, a built-in tank in the truck of the A4P. We don't have any more AFFF on the job. And what they can do is, out the 2 rear 38s, if you take 38 hose off the side of 30 pump or 15 or 11, expect to get foam, you're not going to get it. The only place they can shoot foam out the truck is out the back. on the two rear 38s, that's it. Straight off the back of the truck, all right? Nowhere else can they make foam.
The deductors inside?
Yeah, they're built-in eductors, and that's all they are. They're just built-in eductors. It's called around the pump system. Just a built-in pump.
Are they heated tanks?
Nope, they're just heated up by the engine. So they'd have to think about it after 6 hours sitting at, in minus 30 wind chill, that maybe their foam's starting to get cold. No way they're heated. Now, Hazard 1 carries some foam equipment, okay, and they also carry the emulsifier, which is different. I can talk about that today. And see these trucks, pumpers 4, 5, 12, 13, 14, 16, 20, 22, 29, and pumper 33, as far as I know, still carry one of these. Some even have two, okay, with a nozzle. Okay, so those are our portable inductor trucks. So we do have a lot of foam trucks. I used to think we were pretty sharp having 3 foam pumpers. And then we took the January 95 recruit class from here. I was coordinating it, and we didn't have a firehouse finished yet, so we took them to Scarborough, to their training ground.
Chief Ross, call extension
We went to do
221.
foam
David
training
Ross,
there.
extension
I was bragging to the
221.
Scarborough training guys, and hey, we got 3 foam pumpers. He says, every pumper we buy is a foam pumper. Because that's all we buy are foam pumpers, because they use foam in car accidents and everything. So in the future, you may see with the amalgamation, you'll see a lot more foam pumpers. We're going to have a lot of them, especially if they start shuffling Scarborough trucks in. Okay.
Chief Fells, call extension 221. Peter Fells, extension 221.
Okay, I'm going to let you take a break. I'll be back at 10 o'clock. Okay, I just put a little bit of green dye in it, because sometimes it helps with the glass. You don't have to, it just helps. It's a hydrocarbon. This is regular gasoline, or unleaded gasoline. So you might get a few vapors.
What octane level is that?
87. What's regular? Regular.
Oh.
Figure it out.
Now I can sit there and mix it. Where's the gasoline gonna go? See it? Pretty angry chips. See the 2 different layers? Watch it now. See it going yellow? That's slow too. Could be some foam left in here. See the difference now? This is a polar solvent. This is just isopropyl alcohol. What I can do is just put a little mark on the glass, but
All mixes really.
let's see how it kind of looks. Just mixed all by itself. I did pour it raw. Okay? There will never be a difference. Polar solvents love water. See the difference in the back?
Yep.
See that line? Okay. I can mix it. Now I'm going to make you some foam. Yep, blender. That's water. I'll make you some AFFF. So what I put, what's this? This is foam concentrate. I mix it in the water and I get solution, right? And now all I have to do is mechanically introduce air, right? Do this so you don't get hit. What's that? Hydrocarbon, gasoline. Now, you count the seconds. The seconds that I pour, okay? Ready? Start counting. There's a 3-second pour. Okay, now you're going to start putting foam on a gasoline spill or gasoline fire. Are you just going to add 3 seconds of foam? No, you're going to be doing it for minutes and minutes, okay? And this guy makes good foam. Drainage. There it goes. Pass that around. What do you see? Don't drop it, it's gasoline. What do you see? Yeah, it's draining. That's why foam only lasts 20 minutes. It's draining away right now. It looks like those little snowballs. Let me show you. That's the actual water dropping to the bottom. That's water, not air bubbles. There's a film. Yeah, see how long it took? He makes good foam. His AFFF was good foam. Pass that around. By the time it gets back around to me, there'll probably be about, that much water sitting in the bottom of the gasoline in a 3-second pour. Imagine if you poured for 15, 20 minutes, how much water you can get in the bottom of that spill? How much do you think? And then what's going to happen to the spill? Or it's going to pour over the dike or the berm, or it's going to flow out of the tank. Firefighters have done that. They've set up their fire attacks so wrong with foam, and then they've gone and attacked the fire, and they put the foam on. They put the foam on. They put 20 minutes later, they're still putting the foam on, when really it should be open like 2 minutes if they did it right. Okay, a fire foam attack should only be 2 minutes. 20 minutes, you end up overflowing the tank. That's what you should still doesn't matter. So it happened in Honolulu, they overflowed the tank. Putting foam in, so they caught other things on fire. I'm not going to show you the Honolulu fire today. All across and stuff. Yeah, you can watch it a bunch. Yeah. They got waste. They just re-refine it. In Saudi Arabia, they will purposely keep the tank full and let it burn so they don't lose the tank. The steel stuff. And the tanks are huge. Inside you see water. Is that going around quick? Get it around quicker. See the water forming in the bottom?
Yeah.
All you got to see is the bubbles dropping. That's all I want you to see. Lose a minute. Should make 2 minutes. Hurry up, get it going the other side. Y'all got to see this. I'll set up for my next stunt. Okay, you can just kind of halt that jar for a second, okay? This is a polar solvent. Can you all see this bowl? If you can, I want you to see this bowl. Stand up so you can see it. And everybody see it. I'm going to pour AFFF foam, which is made from hydrocarbons, onto a polar solvent. This guy makes good foam, remember? I've gone to other departments and I've used their AFFF before. It's going to start freaking in a second. Here we go. As fast as I'm pouring it, it's bubbling and burning up. See it's starting to go? Now that might scare you as a firefighter. If you had a huge spill, you put AFFF on, and then you saw this, and you'd say, what is that, acid? No, it's a polar salt. That's all. AFFF cannot sit on a polar salt. Here it goes now. Some foams go this quick right here. Look at it being eaten away. Are you in danger again? Well, this is where you could have just kept putting it on, hopefully getting the temperature down, getting the fire out, and diluting it enough, because it is an alcohol, diluting it enough that it wouldn't ignite again. But if the vapors could still drip, you could die in a fire. You have no blanket protection right now. I want to show you. Start that going again. Yeah, in about 10 seconds.
of water.
Well, that's what I do now. Make it the ATC, okay?
Overflowing the tank. So how many liters per minute?
This time I'll take the A4P, right, with that little snot layer in it, right?
What is it?
Put it in.
I thought it was 225 liters.
You can see this stuff goes corrosive over time. That's why it's used as
Something like that sounds plastic.
still nice and snowy white. Another what, 2 second, 3 second pour?
What's the stuff you put in?
That'll be there when you come back at lunch. It has the membrane, right? Polymeric membrane, the plastic membrane, which I'm going to try and make for you. Ever seen that? That's
Or
been going around the room, what,
alcohol
about 5 minutes?
resistant one.
That's the one that's mixed at 6%, right?
Is that the one mixed at 6%?
Okay, 5 minutes, that's been
All-purpose?
going around the room.
Or just the
3
alcohol
second
resistant?
pour, see how much water I've created on the bottom of the spill? And that's 12 minutes. Okay, that's one of the problems with foam application. You can create, a meter of water over 20 minutes and overflow your spill. Now it's running on fire down the street into sewers. Okay, gotta be careful. The other thing is, what kind of foam is left here now, do you think? After a while, it turns into something we call skeleton foam. Right? It might look like foam, but it'd be very thin, very weak. Right? It's just not good enough. The wind can take it away. That's going to be a weak blanket right now, because this much water is coming up. But this guy makes good foam. Can you see the water in the gasoline won't mix? Yeah. Let's see if we got this thing started. Sometimes it goes real fast, and you gotta know how to nurse it. It's just starting now, okay. You pass this around. Just starting now. Be kind of gentle with it, you'll see these white hairs hanging. Okay? Yep. That's all we carry now in the TMD. That's all we carry. So I've been sitting there long enough to convince you that it's good stuff. Now if you started dragging fire hose through it, yep. And I'm just breaking the membrane and the foam is falling into it. Is that going? Oh, slightly. Slightly. There he goes. That's the pellicule membrane. You've been in a hot tub, obviously. Okay. You see the hairs hanging down? Can't get that going around fast. Everybody's going to see it. That's a nice intact polycure membrane. That's that membrane. It's this stuff here that separates the foam from the alcohol. You break that, you're in trouble. You have to be careful. Kind of understood? You gotta admit, it's pretty neat to see the drainage. Right? Still going on. Bigger bubbles now. Look at the bigger bubbles. We're really getting into trouble. As the bubbles get bigger. This you wouldn't see. You'll never see this again. You don't see this on the fire grill. You'll see the foam. You'll see the gases. You won't see this happen. Remember, it's happening. Okay. Last time I'm doing this. This is now Billy's work.
Hey, Chief.
Well done, teaching foam.
Chief,
Yeah.
you're saying you have to be careful not to put too much water in if it's a tank or something.
Yeah,
How many
I'm
liters
just
per minute does that foam nozzle produce of water with the foam?
230 liters per minute. A solution comes to it. Right? So think of that. That's 230 liters per minute of solution. It doesn't matter how much I blow the foam up. If I blow that foam up into 2,300 liters, it doesn't matter. It's still 230 liters of solution a minute. A minute. So divide that by 60 and find out what it is. It's significant. All right, back to slides. Can you take a, an airport where a plane is crashed, okay? Right? Big jumbo king jump right here. When we go out with this foam nozzle, are we going to have an effect on a firefight here? Why? Not enough. Simple as that. Can you take a garden hose into a serious, fully involved house fire? Why not? Not enough. Okay, well, for some reason, firefighters over the years thought that foam was some magic agent that they could attack the biggest tanker with this at a tank fire. And this would be enough. You know what they were doing with this? Putting 230 liters a minute of water into the tank. And then they wondered why the tank kept burning, wouldn't go out, and overflowed, and started other fires and spread to other tanks and made lines below, okay? Because this was not enough, all right? Not enough. Maybe just to show you. Whoops, everything's wet again. Just here. Here's where you don't have enough. It'll never go out. Then there's this critical area where you'll be playing with it for 20, 30 minutes, thinking you got enough, but you're still not going to put enough. You know, I would think after 5 minutes of foam application, if you're not winning, you better rethink, shut down, and set up more foam and attack the game. Because then there's just enough, and then there's overkill. You're going to bring the fireboat up for a car fire or something? Right? But I mean, don't shoot. There's this optimum amount of foam to use, okay? And it is calculated with NFPA formulas. Ooh, here they go. Memorize these. Memorize these. For a hydrocarbon at 3%, we want to put 4 liters of foam solution on every square meter. Now that nozzle is 200 rated, that deductor is rated at 230 liters. Okay? I think it's 60 US gallons. 230 liters. Is that what I said? Have I been saying 230 liters? Tell me I've been saying 230 liters, not 320. Okay, good. 230 liters. 4 liters per minute on a meter. I'm going to tell you, all you got to remember is, see this classroom? This classroom, remember this? The fire's as big as this classroom, you can hit it with one of these. You think it's bigger than this classroom? Get another one. If it's 3 times the size of this classroom, how many of these? 3. What do you set the deductor at? 3. Okay, it's a hydrocarbon fire, what do you set it at? Like I said, if it's a hydrocarbon fire, the size of this room, 3%, 1 nozzle. How's that for simplicity? So if it's a tank, and it has a surface area 8 times the size of this, you better get 8 of these off, or go to bigger displacements. If there's someone hands you something that's a 420, well, it's like 2 of these. This is a 230, right? 230 liters per minute. Okay. If it's a polar solvent fire, we go to 6%. What's that tell me about how much more solution I'm going to use?
Twice as much.
Twice as much. And now I got to put it on 8 liters per meter. What's that tell you? Twice as much again. So my concentrate's going to be going down twice as fast, but I'm supposed to be putting twice as much on. So if you get to a polar solvent fire the size of this classroom, it's a 6% attack, 2 nozzles to start. You remember that? Just picture an average classroom you went through, all through high, is this about the same size as a high school classroom? Okay, picture classroom, that's what I tell firefighters. That's the easiest way. Hydrocarbon, 1 classroom, one plate pipe. You get into polar solvents, get 2 of these and go to 6. Otherwise you could just overflow it. And the alcohol won't drain. Is my 84P back yet? Right there. Okay, it's coming around. You guys that didn't get to see it the first time, can you see those hairs hanging now? Are they really prevalent? Was it that bad when they got to the back?
No.
When I poured this foam on here, did I raise the level of this? I should have marked it with a black magic marker, because I bet you it was here before I poured it. Okay, even with this foam, I've increased the volume of liquid in here. I could overflow the tank. If I kept pouring foam in here, I'd eventually overflow the jar. Drainage. Okay. Pretty hairy stuff, eh? And all I gotta do is just disturb it once, twice. It's good stuff. 3. I'm just dragging hoses around, walking through it. It's pretty bad now. That's 4 tips. This guy makes good foam. There it is. Okay. So, you don't have to memorize these rates. Can you remember classrooms, nozzles? It's easy. Okay? When you get into a polar solvent fire, you know what I caution our officers, because you know those portable trucks, or the trucks that carry the portable inductor systems, they're carrying 3 pails of foam. Okay? Now, if you do the math, at 230 liters per minute with a 23.5 liter foam pail, right, the math will tell you at 3%, that pail's gone in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. It's gone in 90 seconds at 6%. So they pull up to this classroom, and they got a polar solvent fire as big as this classroom. They need 2 nozzles to begin with, but how long is 3 pails going to last? And you got the first 2 will last 90 seconds, and you have to split the next pail up somehow. Or maybe if you get it out with the first 2 or something. In other words, call for bloody help if you're the captain. You need foam backup. Even a hydrocarbon fire, you've only got 9 minutes of foam. You know what NFPA asks you to have at the scene? Minimum? It's 15 minutes, I think. We have to call for backup, unless you're a foam pumper. Even a foam pumper captain should be calling in a backup foam pumper to start moving his way. But these trucks that pull up, if you've got a portable foam inductor system, you pull up at a good hydrocarbon polar solvent fire, you better start calling for backup, because your 3 pails might not cut it. And at 6%, it's gone pretty damn fast. Okay, and there's trucks all around you. All those trucks are pretty damn close to one another. Call for help. Remind your captain, don't think we got enough foam here, captain. We only got a couple minutes worth. Yep.
How many high volume nozzles and what sizes are?
All we carry are these. All we carry in the TFD, except the fireboard, has some big ones. Don't worry about that till you're assigned to the fireboard. They're fixed anyway. And for their portable system, they got these. And this is all we carry, this style, this size, 10 to 1. Low expansion. The only type of inductors we have are portable inductors. Except for the 3 foam pumpers, these are built in, they're called around the pump in your terms of reference. There's also compressed air foam now. We don't have that type of equipment. I don't think anybody in that does. There's another system, I can't think of what it's called. Around the pump, compressed air, and it's in your
I've seen the nozzle straight, not straight.
a nozzle with an inductor right on it.
Inductor running
Yep,
down.
yeah, we don't have them.
It's the same.
Yeah, this is what we use. We have some of these still that are 65 in and 38 out. Right? Most of the new ones are 38 in, 38 out. They're all 38 out. We don't have 65s though. Volume brought all kinds of junk here right now to play with. They had sheets for it. They even had tight Class A foam for fighting house fires involved. Yeah, I did train them in that, and I've never used it myself. But foam's foam. You understand your proportioning, your percentage rate, your expanding rate, you're okay. I gotta go over these. This is that standard operating procedure I told you about. You gotta know these. Okay? You gotta know that immediately after applying foam, all finished foam blankets, regardless of the type, will commence to break down. Right? And it takes place in the form of water and concentrate draining from the foam bubbles that form the blanket into the product. I showed you that. This drainage results in a weak and ineffective skeleton foam that is difficult to tell from a safe and secure foam blanket by eye. Does this still look like good foam to you? Yeah, but you know, I wouldn't trust it right now. It's been over 20 minutes. Or the hazardous vapor from the product will actually get into the foam. It can get through that seal sometimes, right? And it makes the blanket a gasoline blanket. You gotta be real careful. The whole foam foam blanket has ignited on firefighters because it's been sitting there too long. And poor heat resistance of the foam blanket. You know, when that gasoline was burning at its surface at what, 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius, right? And you put the foam on it, what temperature is the foam for a while? Trying to cool the heat from the gasoline, right, is going into the foam. And the heat can break down the foam too. Or a warm tank takes a while to cool down. And it'll be eating at your foam. So that's the reasons that it breaks down. The deterioration of the foam blanket can be accelerated by any disturbance caused by firefighting personnel, water streams, your hose, your appliances, and your tools. One of the most famous foam fires was an aircraft carrier beginning in the Vietnam War. An American aircraft came in, landed on the carrier, crash landed, hit some other jets. It had rockets going off on deck. They had a serious fuel fire on the deck. And the first crews, the fire crews, went there to fight the fire. There was an explosion, all killed. I think in the end, 39 Marines and sailors died. There were sailors that died because they were the crew. They lost their whole fire department. So that left inexperienced sailors and Marines to try and fight the fire. They laid down an effective foam blanket. The guys with water would turn onto the foam, and what did they do with the foam? Wash it overboard. Then they had the flames and the fuel went down like 3 or 4 levels. You know, like an aircraft carrier can carry up to 9,000 personnel. The regular cruise about 6,000 for these aircraft carriers. It's a small city, right? Anyways, they ended up losing, I think, in the end, close to 50 people. Right? And they burned that thing right out. That's why in the U.S. Navy, every sailor today is trained to be a firefighter, auxiliary firefighter. It might not be your duty, but you'll be a radio operator or a kitchen cook. You're trained to fight fires. They had to because they lost those firefighters. Water and foam blankets do not mix. If you're applying foam and all of a sudden water comes out the nozzle because something's gone wrong back at the truck or at the inductor, what do? Turn it away. You can't shut it off. You don't have a valve. Turn away. Do not put water into a foam blanket ever. Okay? Foam blankets do not reseal as quickly and as safely as previously thought. We were told when AFFF first came out, when I came out in the 1980s, it'll reseal. Right? So if you get caught in a vapor explosion walking through a foam blanket, it'll reseal okay over your dead body. Because you'll be dead in 2 seconds, and it takes about 10 seconds for it to reseal. It does reseal, but not enough time for you not to be hurt. And I'll try and get that video on to show you those guys in Honolulu. I want to at least show you that, what the guys in Honolulu got. And ignition or reignition can happen at any time. You're talking about, you know, flammable liquids here with explosive vapors, right? Any time, boom, it can go up in your face. You're surrounded. This is part of the SOP. Following precautions. All firefighting personnel must stay out of the foam blanket. Better. You know why you stay out of a foam blanket? You don't go walking around in gasoline covered with foam, because what happens to your bunker gear? You become a wick. You're not wearing gasoline pants. The seal of the foam blanket will be broken. If you break that seal, you're in trouble. You start to get rid of the foam. And you'll actually mix the foam in the product. So you'll get gasoline or alcohol foam. Right? I mean alcohol in the foam. That's not a good idea. You have to eliminate all possible sources of ignition. Static sparks, might have to shut down an apparatus or get them upwind. Don't operate any gas or electric powered equipment or non-spark tools near a gasoline spill or a hydrocarbon or solvent spill. If we got to dispel vapors, we'll bring in our ram fan. It's run by a water hose. We don't set up smoke ejectors with gasoline generators. Right, your gasoline spills and stuff. Okay, we'll use the ram fan. That's carried on as one. Don't apply foam to energize electrical equipment. Why wouldn't you put foam on a Class C fire? Why is it a conductor? It's water. Yep. Don't do that. You'll die. Okay. Do not apply foam to incident products that react with water. Why? Why would you put it on a hazardous material that reacts with water? Well, it's water. There was a fire department down in shoved up your ass Dakota or something, North Dakota. There was a beautiful sunny day. It hadn't rained for a week. It wasn't going to rain for another week. This truck tipped over and it had a placard that was blue and white. Hazardous when wet. And it was a dry powder. and the chief pulls up with his crew, and they go, you know, it's gonna be like 4 hours before the truck gets here to pick this stuff up. We better look like we're doing something, boys. Let's put a layer of foam on that baby. And they did, and then they all started going, clunk, clunk, right? They're explosive, flammable vapors come off that. They're also toxic vapors. It lived, but they all got pretty damn sick, right? When something says dangerous reactive when wet, don't put foam on it. Okay, that's how we learned from other fire departments. Don't drag hose lays or other equipment through foam blankets. That breaks up the seal. Stay the hell out of it, okay? Don't apply water directly onto a foam blanket. Water will dilute and wash the foam blanket away. Remember all this?
Yeah.
Pretty simple stuff.
Captain, whose responsibility is it usually to clean up?
Someone like Phillips. To actually do the big cleanup, the company that caused the spill is going to have to pay for the cleanup. And there's all kinds of companies, Serta, Phillips. Our job is to mitigate the incident, eliminate the dangers, get it under control. Once it's sitting there stabilized, we don't have to worry about cleaning it up. We can basically leave once everything's under control and the companies come in, like, again, Phillips, what are some of the other companies? Oh, hundreds of them. They're right under hazardous materials cleanup in the health class. But Phillips is the biggest. Look. I gotta get through these. How long, what? Oh, it could be 4 days before we can leave. Look at the tire, or the plastic fire in Hamilton. How long was the fire department there before they handed it over to another company? Phillips went in there about a week after. The fire department was there for a full week. As soon as possible after extinguishing or covering the incident, the foam blanket must be continuously monitored by sensing instruments. You know, the chief's driver should get an explosive meter off and go, this is pretty good right now. When it starts coming back up into the LEL, low explosive limit, we got to think about reapplying another foam blanket. Okay? When you start to reapply a foam blanket, you remember those rates I gave you, right? For application, you know, schoolroom size? That applies for a firefight. Just to reapply, you wouldn't need 2 set up for this classroom with a polar solid. You could set up with 1 and just gently reapply a new blanket, right? You got lots of time to put a new blanket on. Unless it went to hell on you in a hurry and then it blew up again. Right? Those formulas that we looked at were for fires. Foam application, initial foam application, not a spill or a fire. The reapplication doesn't have to be that bad, but after 10 or 15 minutes, the application of ABC, oh yeah, you can use ABC extinguishing agents and a dry chemical around foam. ABC will not eat the foam blanket. Now, if you have a pressurized fire, like propane, right, foam's no good on it. You want to knock out a natural gas fire or a propane fire, if you have to knock it out, and that's not a good idea, is it? But if you were told, knock it down now so we can get in there or something to shut the valve off, use a dry chemical. Foam will not knock it out. Will not knock out pressurized gasoline either. You got to use dry chemical. But the good thing about the dry chemical is if there is a foam blanket, it won't bother. Okay. I love this one. This is hard. That's what the manufacturers are saying. Foam blankets must be like 30 centimeters thick. It's pretty hard to get that sometimes. In a tank, it's pretty easy. And that's what they want to see. Was that about 30 centimeters? That's what they want to see. To say that you're safe. Okay. Sometimes you only get that much in a parking lot, so you be careful. Okay. And while attempting that above thickness, you got to keep in mind that you're putting 230 liters a minute of foam solution, which is basically water, the solution, right, into the product. And that water is going to drain into the product. And at 230 liters, if you just stood there for 10 minutes, you're going to put in 2,000, right, 300 liters of water into that tank. Is that a lot of water? It's a significant amount. So just be careful. It could overflow on you. And the last page. The chance of overflowing a diaper tank during initial continual reapplication should be considered. So you got to consider other alternatives such as draining, allowing the product to burn, right, to lower its own level. If they overfill a huge tank in a gasoline yard, and we pull up and it's right to the top burning, either they're going to have to pump some out of the bottom to another tank, because they can do that, and if they can't, we're going to let it burn down about this much before we can even put our foam in. Otherwise, you're just going to put it in, what's going to happen? It'll flow immediately. Yeah, so let it burn down or transfer, okay? That's done by people that know what they're doing. Okay, you'll be told to stand by when the foam runs. Okay? experts and certified equipment, right? We don't take, a pump off a truck and start pumping gasoline. The Prosser pump that we carry for pumping out basements is not to be used for gasoline. We had a crew put it in the hull of a ship down here in Asperger's Bay to pump the gasoline that spilled from the fuel tank, and they plugged that thing in, and they had a foam blanket too, and it ran about probably 5 seconds and blew up. Then they had to put more foam in that pump. Okay, the Prosser pump is not certified to transfer flammable liquids. A water pump. Right? You wouldn't pump gasoline through your pumper, would you? No. Certified pumps. We don't even have them. We've got to get them from someone else like Phyllis. In the event that persons responsible for the incident product are unavailable or uncooperative, there is a list of companies. See, what we're supposed to do is call the transport right away. Hey, your truck just rolled over. Get your arses down here and get this under control with your checkbook. Okay, if they're not available, there are companies that the district chiefs will look after and bring in. We can call it someone in and send them the bill later. Okay, that's all that's talking about. There's something called the Spills Bill Act, under the EPA Act, that says that we can bill the person that caused the accident for our suits, our time, and everything. It's cost recovery. Okay, we're going to talk about, that's really nice. We're going to talk about setting up portable foam inductor equipment. Okay, can you see past this? Here's your pumper. You pull up on the scene. Here's your big spill and fire. Okay, wind's blowing this way. Okay, so first thing you better do is get out a fire hydrant. You're the pump driver. Okay, the crew gets off the pails of concentrate. Okay, then they get off the inductor. Right? Okay. Then you better take all 3 lids off those pails because they are on there so damn tight. Sometimes you just got to get an axe, just poke a hole because you can't get the lids off. You can try your hose keys sometimes. They are on there so tight. Right? I would advise instead of thinking you're going to take it out of one and go open one and put it in, you better screw with the lids right away. Okay. So you set that up. You take 38 millimeter hose to the inductor, 38 millimeter hose to the nozzle. That's probably the best place to put the nozzle, right? The wind at your back. Don't you think, of all the smoke and flames going this way? Right? Okay. Now, what you do is the pump operator has to start flowing water. Nobody does anything. Where's this nozzle pointed when it's flowing water? That way. Okay. The pump operator must deliver 1,400 kPa to this inductor. 1,400 kPa is what you pump at to that inductor. Okay. After the inductor, the maximum lengths of hose would be 6. We prefer you stay 1 to 4. If you had to, you could go 6. It does not matter how many lengths of hose you use to the inductor, but you better figure out the extra friction loss to that inductor, because when the water gets to here, you want it to be at 1,400 kPa. Now today we're just going to have a couple lengths off to the inductor. Just pump at 1,400 kPa, get them fun. All right. By the time that 1,400 kPa gets through the inductor and through the 2, we'll probably just put 2 lengths off. The 2 lengths to the nozzle, it's only coming out of here about 300, 400 kPa. You can hold a foam nozzle in one hand. It's not like a fog nozzle. It's a broken stream basically, and it's an aerated stream coming out. When it goes back to water though, you're going to feel it.
That's right.
So, the pump operator gets it up to 1,400. He signals the person here. What's that person now? Put the pickup tube into the... There's no sense putting it in before. You're just going to be wasting. When it's at 1,400, right, and the nozzle's away from the spill, throwing water at 1,400 to the inductor, then you get the high sign, you put the tube into the foam concentrate. And then you can turn your nozzle on the foam. And we'll talk about how you apply it. But basically you apply it at the near edge and let it flow itself over the spill. Right? If it would only go so far, you may be able to walk to this edge and shoot it on sideways or this way. It can never go down here.
No more than 600.
It shouldn't. 4 is ideal after the inductor. No more than 4 after the inductor. We've gotten away with 6. Talking to flow people, they say 6 might still work. Okay, you understand how to set it up? It's real easy. That's what you're going to be doing for your practical. Screwing it together and then just playing with it. Okay? And someone's going to run the pump for you. What I want you to do out there, because I got to take off early today, but Captain Salt is going to be definitely out there the whole day, is rotate on the nozzle as fast as you can. Remember, I got $1,000 for the concentrate today, and that's it. So, I mean, get on the nozzle, get the feel for it, and pass it off to the next person. The person at the adductor, get on the nozzle. The person running the pump, get up to the nozzle. Rotate, instantaneous. Everybody feel what it's like and get used to it, okay? How do you apply it? There's 3 standard methods for applying foam. But when you apply it gentle. You stay the hell out of the blanket, okay? This is just called the roll-on. What you do is, this fire, take it that the fire is ended right here. See where he's hitting? Because you can't drive foam into the spill. What happens if I took my foam nozzle and I drove the foam into the gasoline? What am I going to get?
Flash.
Gas splashing and gasoline foam. I'm assuming the fire ends here then. And he's hitting it hard there. It's getting it to roll and spread. It's kind of like a pressure. It builds up in front of you and then it'll start to spread. We can make it flow on the grass today. We'll hit the cars, we'll hit the back of those houses that they built. Keep it off the tanker and stuff. I'm not sure what it does to the pilots. There's some crews that come in and they throw foam in our propane appliances. One day they're just going to rot. You know, so we don't use them on them too much. So that's the roll-on method. This is called the backsplash. Suppose there's a wall or the tanker, let's say, or those houses out there. You can hit the wall, right? And it'll come back and roll towards you and put the fire on. Bounce it off a pipe, bounce it off a tank car, bounce it off the car. Whatever, you understand that method? And the last one is the least effective. It's called the rain down. This has got 2 problems. You can try it today. Put the nozzle in the air and see how it comes down. It starts to come down like big clops of snow. If there's a wind, it's gone. And if there's a huge thermal column, what do you think happens to it? Gets to the thermal column, boom, gone. Okay? You've got to get it at the surface so it can smother, separate, cool, and cool, smother, separates, and
Suppress.
suppress. Thank you. Up here, you can't do that. You can't smother, cool, suppress, or separate up here. Okay? That's your method of application. That's what you might be going to fully involved. Okay? And they do have some pressurized stuff sitting here. They do have their solvents in here now. And their lead replacement fuels are there. That's a big refinery. This is a separate refinery back here. This is, I believe this is this Finch or Steels up around Dublin? That's Finch? So if that's Finch, that's our problem in the new city. That's North York. I was thinking this was Steels and that was all gone, but we've still got some tanks sitting right down here on Cherry Street and Commissioner Street, you know, that area. So when they go real good. Okay, let me tell you about tank fires real quick. You know who Red Adair is? You ever heard of Red Adair? What is it?
Oil well.
That's right, oil wells and big tank fires over in the, usually over in the Arab republics or Texas where he's from. He's Coca-Cola. Okay, I met his #1 competitor, Pepsi. Can't remember the guy's name. Big Texan, big boots, the big hat, the big drawl. He's Red Adair's #1 competitor. He is Pepsi. Not Mountain Dew, not 7-Up. He's Pepsi when it comes to fighting these oil wells. Okay, a couple things. Here's a tank. First of all, before you even start to put foam on there, I mean, it's got to burn down. It's got to burn down a little bit for you. Because you need a lip to hold the foam, right? So let it burn. It's not going anywhere, right? Then you look at the surface area of that tank and figure out, geez, you're a good chief, how many classrooms is there? And you go, you know, I could probably divide that into about 8 classrooms. Therefore, how many of those size nozzles do I need minimum? 8. That means you're going to take a little while to set up. In other words, you might as well get our 3 foam pumpers there, and then a couple more portable inductors. And you got to figure out how you're going to reach it too. That's why down in Saudi they got these great big trailers they bring in with foam cans. Okay, right, they got big stuff. Okay, this tank is burning so damn bad that it's like solid fire across there. right? And it's burning like now, you know, that deep into the tank, okay? What's the temperature heater in a fire comprised of? Okay, give me one. Oxygen, okay, let's just leave that one. What else? I got fuel, I got heat, I got the chemical reaction, oxygen. How is oxygen getting to the surface, right, of that gas tank when it's a foot, a meter into the tank? How's it getting in there?
From the side.
Yeah, from the side somewhere. There's a little window. It's usually the way the wind is blowing. That's what this guy taught me. He said sometimes in the desert the wind will shift like 8 times an hour. Coming out of the north and it shifts coming, you know. So they set up everything at that window because what they do is they just get their foam to come up towards that window and it gets pulled in and thrown to the surface under like tornado gusts. You'll have like winds in here, you know, 200-300 kilometers an hour maybe going in there, into that little lip, that little window, because the rest of the tank is pure fire. So find the window. He says we just get set up and the wind changes, right? And then we sit there going, is it going to come back? And it's going over here. Anyway, so then they go move where they think it's going to go and it comes back. That's why they chase the fire for like 12 hours until finally they're set up at the window and it's right there because the tank's over there as big as that post office. And they finally get to the window, they finally get their foam, they play it in the window. If you put, so what would be the point of putting 8 or 6 of those nozzles around that tank? Group them at the window, okay, all right, and hit that little area, and you should be able to put that out in 1 to 2 minutes. Are you going to overflow? No.
How do you find the window?
You got to kind of see where the wind's going in, the way the smoke's blowing off. It's usually opposite to where the smoke is going. If it's going straight up, it could be a small lip around 1/3 of it. It's got to be there. Somehow air has to be getting into that fire. Okay, that's your window of opportunity to get foam in. It's got to be hard sometimes. You might have to do it from the air. You might have to put an aerial up or even get a helicopter or something. I don't know. We've had a tanker fire. I do know one thing. I don't know how many incident commanders in the metro area were at that seminar. Because I've never seen this explained in a video. This is a guy that goes fights who told me this. Here's something else he told me about. We don't really have this problem at home here. You ever heard of, what do you think? They're going to turn now? Is it boil over?
Yeah. Is that when you have fuel floating on the water?
Okay, yep, here we go. This happens with the real heavy crude oils over in Saudi. We do have crude oil sitting here, or thicker oils in big tanks. What's in the bottom of every gasoline or oil tank? Water. There is water there, right? You got a fire up here going at maybe 1,000 degrees Celsius, right? At the surface. They can calculate, this Texan calculates by the size of the tank and the type of fuel, how long before the heat shock wave, the 1,000 here, works its way down to here and hits that water and heats it up to 100 degrees Celsius. He knows exactly how much time he had. Do you know what happens when it gets there at 100 degrees Celsius? No. What happens to this? What does it expand into? 1 liter of water equals what?
750.
Yeah, so what do we get here? A huge volcano. Okay? You get this boil over with flaming liquid. And sometimes it can overrun the berm. There was a few fire departments that were lost in the southern states back in the 20s and 30s because they didn't understand this, with the crude oil down in Texas. They'd be inside the berm, you know, fighting the fire from the berm, and it would just go kaboom and land on it. It just goes off, kabang.
Don't they have drain valves now to drain the rainwater and the...
You better, yeah, but they have something there, but there's still always water there. You got to be careful. Is it working? Did somebody activate it? Did somebody think of it? Okay. This is why when you have a pot of grease on your stove, okay, that's now on fire, right? You don't throw water on it. Because as soon as you throw the water on it, where does the water want to go?
Bottom.
To the bottom. How hot is it down here? It's on a stove. What happens to the water immediately? As it goes through boiling oil that's already on fire, down to the bottom of the pot that's being heated directly by flame, it goes boom. That's why you get the kitchen cupboards on fire and your clothes on fire. It's the same effect as this huge tank. Okay? I don't know if we'll ever see boil over here, just, I don't know where you're gonna end up in the next 25 years. Okay? I'm just passing on what I thought was some fantastic information here. And I try and spread as much as I can. I love to bring this guy up every year from Texas to talk to Canadians about this. They know this in Sarnia, and they know this in Nanticoke and stuff. And they know this at the refinery I just showed you. But how many municipal urban firefighters know this? So just be careful. I got couple just videos I want to show you. And I know I'm getting your lunch. That's it, Billy.
Okay.